Diana here. Before we get started on our next lesson, I have a multitude of very important information that you need to hear and understand before proceeding. In the last 2 days, I have spent hours trying to get this to work, and it just wouldn't work, and I could not understand why. Everything, I was following the instructions exactly like it was supposed to be. So what is going wrong? I began looking on the site in the actual manual for Cartoon Animator 5, and I found this information on SVG file. Okay, when you create in Illustrator your file that is going to be used in Cartoon Animator 5, there are numerous rules that have to be met before your file will import into Cartoon Animator 5. The first thing they talk about is the loss of outline detail with resized SVG artboards. What they call the cause, if your canvas is too small, then your lines may fall short of the 1 pixel thickness that is required in Cartoon Animator 5. This can actually cause it to be unable to import the image because it can't see it. They suggest that you start with a canvas of 1500 to 2100 pixels wide using a 1 pixel thickness. Now in Illustrator and Affinity Designer, they call your canvas the artboard. But that's the first thing you have to be careful about, is to make sure that you have 1 pixel line thickness. The next section talks about Cartoon Animator being unable to read EPS files that have been converted to SVG. Why? EPS is loaded differently among the various softwares such as Illustrator, Photopedia, etc. And they tend to transform vector images into bitmap, which is impossible for Cartoon Animator to import. The workaround is open your EPS file in a third-party vector editor instead of using the import function. The first note says certain software like Illustrator and Photopedia have 2 modes for drag and dropping images. When an EPS is dragged and dropped into an empty canvas, it counts as an import. If it is dragged and dropped into an application backdrop, then it is the same as opening the file. The second note is that Cartoon Animator does not support SVG bitmaps and vector fonts. The next item is that text needs to be converted to outlines in order to be exported into Cartoon Animator. Now you can do it in 2 ways. You can actually convert to outlines in Illustrator or whatever vector software you are using, or when you save it as an SVG file, just make sure that under the font section it states convert to outlines. Then it will automatically convert it to outlines and you won't have to worry about it. In the next, we find out that SVGs do not support freeform gradients. Now, Illustrator and CorelDRAW do offer freeform gradients, which are converted to bitmaps upon export. It does say that it supports linear and radial gradients. I wasn't sure, so I wanted to be able to get this next lesson going, so I literally just removed the gradient factor from my drawing so we wouldn't have to worry about it. We'll play with that later on. Big one to note, bitmap brushes are not supported. Whether it be image or a stroke, doesn't matter. If it's stencils, bitmaps, they are not supported. Need to remember that one. Another really disappointing one is that most visual effects are not supported by Cartoon Animator 5. Why? Because the visual effects are converted to bitmap when they are exported. Therefore, they are not supported in Cartoon Animator 5. Very sad. Now, this one I will discuss in greater detail when we get to our next lesson and begin to create the bones in Illustrator. The thing that I want to mention is the fact that I told you wrong in the last lesson. You cannot have a left foot as an item, or a left arm as an item, or a left hand as an item. You can have the right arm, which is all of the items, the arm, the elbow, the hand. Any piece that you have in the right hand would be your right hand. Any piece you have in the leg would be your left leg. The leg, the foot, the toes, all of that can go in one section, which is the left leg. But you cannot have them separately. When you do, they will not import. That was a big one for me. We'll get into it in the next lesson. Hope you have a great day. Hope you learned something. See ya in the next lesson. Diana.